Okay guys, we're going to talk chisel safety real quick. So short video here on working with our two different types of chisels. I know we covered it in the intro video, but I want to make sure we hit this one again because this is where I see a lot of kids make mistakes that could potentially hurt them. Alright, so number one rule with working with the chisel, clamp your work. Big clamps, little clamps, clamp your work. Do not try to hold it still with your hands. Do not get your partner in crime to try to hold it still with his or her hands because it will be a problem for you. Alright, so the idea there, guys, is that when you're working with the chisel, clamp your work, rule number one. Rule number two, okay, is hold the chisel with both hands. You want to make sure you've got two-handed grip on this thing because the idea is that the chisel's going to cut with the blade on its own. You're not going to have to push really hard because it's going to be sharp. If you're having to push, you need to let me know so I can sharpen the chisel. It's too dull. Okay? You don't want to have to push like crazy to get it to cut what you need it to. Okay, so the idea there is that you're just going to push with two hands. You can control the chisel where you need to go. Okay? If your hands are both on the chisel, the worst thing that's going to happen to you is you might bump the wood if the chisel slips, but the idea there is it's not going to hurt you because you're holding it, the blade's pointed away from you. That brings us to our next rule, okay, which is number three. Point the chisel away from yourself and others. If you are pushing this bad boy towards your best friend, you might not be best friends for long. If you are trying to chisel something, pulling it towards yourself, you might not be best friends for long because you might not be with us anymore. So the idea there, guys, is make sure that you're using this thing with two hands, but two hands in a safe direction. Think about this term. It's called the line of the cut. Okay, imagine a line extends out from the end of this chisel all the way out. Infinity. If you are trying to chisel and someone is in the line of the cut, that's not safe. If they're across the room, understand that's safe. Yeah, there's far enough distance, they're away from you, nothing's going to happen there. But the idea there is that if they're near you, within your arm's reach next to you, then you need to be very careful. You need to ask them to step down. You need to move to where you can push the chisel the other way. You can take your piece of work if you really have to work this way because you're right-handed or left-handed. If you have to work this way, then you can turn your body to the bench, turn your piece of work, clamp it down differently, and then work that way so you're not pointed towards the people on either side of you. The other thing with chisels, watch where you're pointing these and how you're pointing these when you walk around the room. I see a lot of kids, they start walking with this thing and they just kind of have it out there like this. They just pick it up and they start walking to their desk to go work on their project. You need to be careful and you need to be aware of where this is and you need to point it down. Okay? Have your hand on the chisel and point the chisel down. If you do this kind of thing, and then you put your hand back, it's pointed back. If you back up into somebody, or you are swinging your arms as you walk, you're creating a dangerous situation. Hold it in your hand, kind of like this, and when you point it down to your side, it's down. You know where the chisel is. You can control it. If somebody backs up towards you, you can just kind of stand there and nobody's going to get hurt. Now, the thing you need to be aware of with the blue chisels is the rasp, the cheese grater for wood. If it's a cheese grater for wood, it will cheese grate your skin pretty well. That doesn't mean you can't touch it because it's not going to bite you if you touch it, but it is going to bite you if you're pushing with the chisel and your hand is up there. That's not a two-handed safe hold on this blue-handed chisel. You need to have your hand back here, okay? Two hands on the handle, only blue chisels. you can, as they say in baseball, choke up on that thing like that with the orange chisels because the blade is flat and smooth. Okay, so the only time you're going to be holding a chisel with one hand is when you're chopping. Okay, and I'll demonstrate this in class. You'll hold the chisel with one hand, you'll bring the hammer up, and you'll chop like that. Okay, so the idea there now, you're going to have to hit this, so you'll have to get coordinated with that and figure that out. So the idea there is that that's the only time that you would only use one hand. Okay, when you're chopping. Pay attention to these rings on the top of the chisel. If your hand is up there on those rings, there's a good chance you might hit your hand. So pay attention that your hand is below those. It just kind of gives you a marker for where to stand or where to hold the chisel and how to keep yourself safe. All right. When you pass a chisel to someone, no poking it out there with the blade first, okay? Don't be, here you go, bad idea. When you pass a chisel, you control the blade. You can both hold the handle, but you control the blade. Best way to do it, sideways. Okay? Safest way, absolute safest way. Somebody wants a chisel from you. Oh, you need the orange chisel? Here you go. You put it on their side of the table. You've picked it up, you've put it down. Now they can pick it up and put it down where they want to. Okay? Other safety concerns with chisels. No horseplay, no running, walk safely. Do not grab this out of someone's hand. If someone is holding it, they're walking to their table, and you try to take it away from them because you need it, you will find yourself taking a safety test again. Do not fight over tools. Do not grab tools out of people's hands. That is how people get hurt.